Welcome to Beginning Python. This is section 5 and we are talking about loops and iterables. In the last section, we looked at if statements and control flow. However, in this section, we're going to have a look at the following. We're going to look at what a for loop is, how to use a while loop, what an iterable is, how to use loops and conditionals together, and we're going to wrap up the section by writing a mini program that uses everything we have learned so far. In this video, we are going to have a look at how to use a for loop. To do this, we're going to learn a few things: what the in keyword is, how to use a for loop with a list, and additionally, how to use a for loop using indexing. Let's begin by having a look at what the in keyword can do for us. So here I have a string and a list. The in keyword lets us know if an element is contained within these. So for instance, I say print 5 in A, and I run this, I get false. So it's a conditional check. It's a yes or a no, true or false. Let's try another one. If I say 4 in A, 4 is an element of A, so we expect to get true. Perfect. However, if it's a string, we can do some more interesting things, like check if a substring exists within the string. So LO in S is true, because we have the substring LO right there. So that's one way we can use the in keyword. The other way we can use the in keyword is in conjunction with a for loop. The syntax for for loop is the following. You say for, and then you give it a variable name. I'm going to say number in, and then you give it some kind of iterable, something we can iterate over. For instance, this could be the even numbers. And then you put a colon, and you make sure that there's an indentation. And everything inside the indentation is considered part of the for loop. Then if every iteration, number will be assigned to the next element in the list. So we'll start out at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, so on. If we print number, we'll see why that is, or how that works. Exactly, we get 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Even I could be more precise and say this is an even number, if I wanted to. So this is how you would iterate over a list. And since this is a for loop, we can continue adding even more code in here if we wanted to do a summation or do an if statement, or even add another for loop. I can keep adding code. However, let's see other ways we can use a for loop. For instance, let's suppose I have odd numbers, which I'm going to call odds. I put 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Now, we can do the same thing, but this time instead of explicitly creating a list, I'm just going to reference list odds. So this is slightly different, but not that different. And we get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. However, this is another way we can do it. We can also use what's called indexing. So if you remember, we can access elements in a list by simply putting the square brackets and giving it an index. Well, if we want to iterate over all the elements in the list using an index, we have to go from index 0 up to the length -1 of this list. And if you remember, we can use range statement to generate a list for us. So let's see how we can do that. First, let's print what the range of the length of odds is. If we do that, we get the range from 0 to 6. That's perfect because our list has 6 elements. Now, let's iterate over the indexes. So for index in range of the length of odds, I'm going to say the following. Print index, we're going to use our formatting again. So I'm going to print the index, I'm going to print what our odd number is. And now, so format, and instead of format, give it the index, and give it the odd number at that index. So you can see that for each index, we are able to pull out the corresponding odd number at that index. Now this is a common paradigm you're going to see in programming. Instead of explicitly iterating over the elements, sometimes, if not usually, it is more convenient to have the index laying around somewhere. Because not only can we query what the element at that index is, but it also tells us additional information as like where we are in the list, how far we've gone, and so on, and whether it is the first element or not. So these kinds of checks are important because in our other loop, this one, we have no sense of which is the first element. While in this for loop, if the index is 0, then we know we're in the first element, and that's some desirable information we might want. In this video, we looked at how to use a for loop. In the next video, we're going to look at how to use the while loop structure. See you then.